My Rich Husband's Secret, Part 2. A story by Eby's Heart. Urema found herself sleeping in a dungeon when she woke up. Apparently she was hit on the head with force and she passed out. It took hours before she could recollect what happened before she ended up where she was. She started screaming for help, but when she screams, her voice echoes back at her. Later that day, a servant brought food and water for her. Urema rushed her food, because she was very hungry. After eating, she was able to think clearly. She remembered how her husband was devouring one of their servants, and fear gripped her. Then she looked around her, and saw thousands of skeleton. She found out she was actually in a cave and not a dungeon. Her head started spinning and she passed out. Urema woke up to a sharp pain on her back. She tried to get up, but something held her down. She tried to scream, but could not. It was as if a rock was placed on her back and something was sucking life out of her. The beast had been feeding on Urema for almost 1 month now, sucking her blood. Urema was becoming weaker and weaker by the day. Then one day, his parents visited Byron's house. They were worried that Urema no longer calls them. Byron told them that Urema traveled abroad for holidays and would call them immediately she gets back. They were so happy to hear that. The head servant visited Urema in her prison one day. He berated her for accepting a man she barely knows. You are a fool for marrying someone because of desperation. Your parents came here last week and they spoke our dialect. Are you from Muton village? Immediately he said that, Urema jumped with her last strength and screamed yes. We are from Muton village. My mother was from your village. She died many years ago when I was 22 years old, in Byron's hands. You see, my father's greed made him work for Byron as a young boy. He made sure my father never left this compound. He brought a wife, my mother, for him to marry. After I was born, he ate my father. My mother gave birth to 2 more girls besides me, but they are all dead. I am also a prisoner in this house, even though I am not in a dungeon like you. I have seen many women come in here and never leave, greedy women like you. I took interest in you when I heard your parents speak my mother's language. You must save yourself. I know this is where I will die. I have spent all the 55 years of my life here, and do not even know what the outside look like. Wait, Urema shouted in surprise, if you are 55, and your parents gave birth to you here, how come Byron still looks 30? The head servant laughed. He should be up to 400 years, judging from the stories he tell. The truth is, I don't think he is human, so whatever you are doing, you have to be careful. Urema leaned forward and asked him, what do I do to get out of here? He looked at her and said, first you have to kill him. Kill him? Can I do that? When you said he is not even human. Food kills him, he only eat human flesh and drink human blood to survive. So all you have to do is to look for a fruit or food that looks exactly like blood and I will mix it in the blood I serve him to drink. And by the way, my name is Buku, the head servant said and left. Urema was so happy and hopeful that at least someone is looking out for her. She thought of her parents and cried bitterly with regret. I should have known that he was too good to be true. Buku kept coming to bring food to Urema every day, and they would sit and discuss about their plans to kill Byron. Then Urema remembered Zobo drink. She asked Buku to tell the chef to buy the flour they use to make Zobo, so they can make it and give Byron. Byron still comes to suck life out of Urema, although he no longer comes frequently, but Urema still feels very weak every time. She could barely stand up and now looks like a skeleton. The thought of what Buku told her still haunts her. When he is sure there is nothing left in you, he will skin you and eat your flesh as dinner. This particular thing Buku said have been disturbing her spirit so much. And when she asked him about the many servants here, Buku started shedding tears and said, they are all his food, he eats them whenever he wishes. With all this going through her mind, Urema vowed to save herself and others. The D-Day came, they made the Zobo and brought some to Urema to taste it before taking it to Byron. She was so happy that finally she will be free. The plan was to take her out of the dungeon to witness Byron's death. Buku sent one of the servants to bring Urema to the main house. She got there and hid in a corner watching Buku serve Byron the zobo they made. Byron took the drink and finished it. He stood up and started struggling to breath. Urema was almost dancing where she hid. Buku rushed to his help, then he laughed out loud and said, "Come out, Urema. Come out," he commanded in a beastly voice. "You think you can kill me? I am a god, your god. I have lived for centuries, yet you think your fragile self can kill me?" he roared. Two servants dragged Urema out and she fell on her face crying. That was when she looked up and saw Buku smiling. He was never part of the plan. "Oh, you think Buku can betray me? Never. I own him. From today, I will start eating you one arm and leg at a time." He was still talking when he heard a loud chant at his gate. A servant ran to him and said, "Urema's parents gathered half of the town. They are protesting the disappearance of their daughter Urema, and they are threatening to pull down the gate and come in." Byron screamed, "What?